Okay. So I found out that I have cluttering when I was 27 years old. One of my college professors, the dean of my college, came up to me and said, "Hey, I noticed that you kind of struggle with your speech," and when he said that, I was like, "I struggle with my speech." Um, like and then and then he referred me to a friend of his at the speech pathology department, and so then like a week later, I went to the speech pathology department, did a bunch of tests, and still I wasn't really connecting. Oh, he's sending me to the speech pathology department. There's something wrong with my speech. Um, I just thought, well, I don't know if I really thought through it at that point, but um, but I well, I've always had this goal of improving my speech, and the way that I thought about it is, I want to be able to like stand up in front of a great big like auditorium and give a good speech. That's kind of on my bucket list to do. And when he was describing it, like all the stuff he was saying about how my speech was bad, just totally went over my head, and I thought, oh well, yeah, I'll go to the speech department because maybe they can help me with my long term goal. So then I went to the speech department. They did I think a couple days of various tests, and then at the end, then at the end they said, okay, come back on Friday and we'll tell you your results. And they came back on Friday and said, okay, we don't know very much about this because we don't know very much about this because it's pretty rare. I don't know how they describe cluttering, but they said, okay, you have cluttering. And then they had an old style tape recorder, and she pressed play on the tape recorder, playing some of probably my worst speech, and that was the first time that I kind of recognized that I had a speech problem because she took like 2 days of me talking, found like the best example, or like to someone that doesn't realize their speech is different than other people's, the worst example, and press play, and I was just like, I didn't know how to handle it because I was I was just thinking, oh, that is my speech, but I didn't realize that I did all that stuff. So so then I so then I then I did, I think, about like 4 months of speech therapy, and then I graduated and kind of forgot about it, and then I had a job where I was promoted to a pretty high position in the company, and I thought, oh well, I'm a manager. I'm kind of a hot shot. I should like improve myself in a lot of areas, and this was like 3 or 4 or 5 years later, and I thought, oh well, that thing in college is cluttering really like real, or like did they just make it up, or whatever, because I'd never heard anything about it since then. So I started looking into it, and the only thing reliable that I could find through an internet search was like a one-page PDF, or pamphlet. I don't know if it was probably like a bitmap file back then. But like this one-page thing that Ken St. Louis made, this like printout pamphlet that you could, about cluttering, and I read through that like over and over again, and and then like something about it just made me just totally fascinated. Like, hey, well, I have this this pamphlet that Ken St. Louis wrote, like totally describes me. and describes like a really good path for me to like improve myself. And then I realized, oh, there's nothing out there. So I started I bought like every single book about cluttering. At one point, I was hoarding Dessa Weiss's book, Cluttering, from like 1967. So I think at one point I had like 8 copies, but then I thought, oh, this is like way too valuable, so I like resold them all. Resold all but like one of them on Amazon, because I was like, okay, um, um, this is like really important, and I really shouldn't be hoarding this just for myself because it's like a cool book. But anyway, Dessa Weiss's book also changed my life, because it's I think it's like 120 pages, and the pages are only like this big. So like because it's a really tiny book, but and that was pretty like clinical and really hard to read. Like one of his theories is that people with cluttering have brain lesions, and brain lesions like there's something messed up in the brain, which I think now is pretty obviously false. But I was reading through this and like, oh, he's got a great point here. He's got a great point here. He's got a great point here. He's got a great point here, and he thinks people with cluttering have brain lesions. So anyway, I think well, it was written back in 1967, like before I was even born. And so it's just like a thing that kind of everyone does, but like people like you and me. And one of the books that I really liked was David Daly's book, because he has a cluttering scale where like people, and I don't know like how much better you are now, but assuming you went through a point where like with me, now your speech is a lot better than it was, then like probably like you and me at our worst would be like 97, 98 on the scale, and like now I might be like 40 or 50 on the scale, and then like a regular person without cluttering would be like a 10 or 15 on the scale, and then someone like really good at speech, like David Letterman or Barack Obama, or like whoever is great at speech, they would be like 1 or 2 on the scale. So when I saw that scale, I thought, oh, this is just really cool, because it doesn't say, oh, Joseph, you're a freak, you're just but like the cool thing about cluttering is that everyone does it, but just people like you and me do it so much and in pretty much every sentence, so we rank like a lot higher on the scale than other people do. I think like I don't have really any like recordings of me back then. I think I have like one tape recording in storage somewhere, of me like reading something that's probably not cluttered speech, because I think I practiced it a whole bunch of times before I actually read it. So like me going into the past and trying to remember is hard. It is kind of hard. But I think maybe one of the reasons that didn't really happen very much with me um, is that I had such a hard time expressing myself that I didn't really talk very much, um, and and so I think instead of people saying, whoa, you're way too fast, I can't understand you, people were like, hey, do you want to say something? And I didn't really say anything, and so they were kind of waiting, and then when I finally said something, even though it was disjointed, they were like, oh, well, at least he's talking. But at least he's talking now. So I think that's why I think that's why I don't have this memory of people saying, "Hey, slow down. Hey, I don't understand what you're saying," because I just said so little that I just said so little that um, that the people didn't really but people didn't really say that. But I know that like um, one of the things, and this still kind of bugs me, is that because cluttered speech sounds a lot like nervous speech, and so whenever someone mistakes me for being nervous, then it always just really bugs me. I'm always just fuming inside, saying I'm not nervous. It's my speech, but I don't want to explain cluttering to you because then I'll like go way too fast and talk about a whole bunch of stuff, and you're not going to understand. And so anyway, I remember one time when somebody said, "Hey, you're really nervous," and I said, this was about 5 years ago after after I learned about cluttering. Um, but I stopped and I said, no, I'm not nervous. I have this thing called cluttering, and it sounds a lot like cluttered speech. Like when you get nervous, then your speech breaks down in pretty similar patterns to the way that my speech is normally. And this guy just like totally argued with me. He's like, no, you are nervous because this and this, and I can tell. So so it's really interesting because it's like I read this thing about like there's this like certain kind of turkey that that has like this automatic response or something, and so they had like a tiger cub or whatever, and they put like something on the tiger cub that made it look like, or that made the little turkeys think it was like a mother turkey, or no, it was they put something on the tiger cub, and then the mother turkey thought that the tiger cub was the was a baby turkey, just because like they put like a like I don't know what the turkey's like thing is that hangs down or whatever, but it was something like that, and whatever animal it was, it might not have been a tiger, was like the mortal enemy of the turkey, and so and so that was just an example of how like certain things, certain things like trigger responses in turkeys, and then also in humans, saying, okay, well, if it's this, then it means this. And so I totally understand where that guy's coming from. Like whenever he heard speech like mine, that person was always nervous. Actually, so that's a really tough question, because like if I'm describing it to like if I'm just like writing writing a blog about it, if I'm telling a friend, if I'm telling someone that doesn't know anything about cluttering, if I'm like there's a whole bunch of ways to do that. So one of the things like with me with cluttering, I kind of look at it as this is how my brain's wired, and my brain's wired in a way that results in my speech being disjointed. Um, and and personally, I really like how my brain's wired. One of the things that I think, because I always think there's like pros and cons to everything. The con of me having cluttering is that often people can't understand what I'm talking about, and I'm kind of hard to listen to, like people nod off or change the subject, or and that kind of thing. So those are the negative parts about cluttering. But I think on the positive part of cluttering, like the way that my brain's wired is wired in a way that I can think in a way that's just kind of unique and different, um, and I see those two things as pretty connected. And so one of the things that kind of makes working on my speech hard for me is the question of how do I keep all the really cool things about how my brain's wired, but then redo it slightly so that I can have really good fluid speech. And one of the things that I heard that I really liked was stupid people can't clutter. Meaning that if you're a clutterer, you're pretty smart. Because like if you're stupid and you only have like one thing to say, like, oh, the weather's nice outside, and like that's all you have to say, and maybe you have like two other things to say, then there's like if you only have just a few things to say, then it's really tough to be a clutterer. But like I think with me, like one of the reasons that one of the reasons that my speech is cluttered is that I have just so much stuff going on in my head. So I think mazing is mazing is probably the biggest thing. One of the things that one of my friends said is, Joseph, you're the only person I've ever met who interrupts himself. Like I'll start telling a story and then I'll like interrupt and tell another story and then I'll interrupt and tell another story. And so like for me that's like my life. And after that person said that, then I noticed, oh, yeah, nobody else does that. That's like me. So I think I think that when I'm trying I think that when I'm trying to speak well, like on I think a lot of my YouTube videos, then I have that I use as a filler word. I think though that when I'm not being recorded and my speech is breaking down like at work, then then I don't think I use filler words. I think I use something else. But it's actually really tough to analyze that, because as soon as somebody records me speaking, then I switch into like YouTube video mode. Yeah. So when I'm focusing on my speech, then I can get much more fluent. But then I think a side effect is that my ums skyrocket. And one of my philosophies is that if you focus on and interjections, then your speech is going to get worse and worse and worse. And so this is my first personal philosophy, is that, and I actually wrote a thing on Amazon used to let you write kind of blogs. So I had this blog, which was like my most popular one, which is how to get rid of interjections. And my method for getting rid of interjections is focusing more on your message than focusing on trying to get rid of the interjections. So the thing that helped me most, and it still helps me, is self monitoring. And it's a technique that I haven't heard very much about, talked about very much, but for me it was very powerful. So basically the way they explained it to me is, hey Joseph, don't try and improve your speech, just talk and then listen to yourself speak. And so these are the things to watch for: interjections, repetitions, revisions. And as you're speaking, then listen for when you're saying them, because that's the very and don't try it, like while you're doing the self monitoring. Don't try and fix your speech. Just listen for how you're speaking. And I really like that, because in a whole bunch of stuff, like aware, you can't really make a change unless you're aware of what you want to change. And so I think a lot of people just jump into trying to change stuff without like realizing the state of their speech. And so them teaching me that the very first thing, like the groundwork, is for me to become aware of my speech, and to be able to say, okay, yeah, I just said a sentence ago. I repeated this word 5 times. all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I like how they presented it, because they said, okay, you probably want to really understand this right now, and it'll probably take like weeks before you can actually kind of get the hang of it. So so for me, it was really difficult, and like I'd never actually like listened to my speech as it was coming out of my mouth. So so for me, I think it took like weeks before I was able to before it seemed like it was like not a really annoying thing to do, to listen to my speech as I was talking about it. The way that I explain it is that stuttering is all about being unable to pronounce a letter, and the my friends with stuttering, a lot of them have problems with the R letter, the L letter, and the W letter. I think also with, I think S's are difficult too, but most of my friends have problems with R, L, and W. And so basically, you have stuttering if there's a sound or sounds that you can't pronounce, and then you have cluttering. Well, and both can exist at the same time. But if you're but generally, like with a clutter or a pure clutter, you can say, okay, here are sounds, say R, R. Read these 20 words. Read these 20 words with R. Ready, rough, and and then someone with cluttering will be able to do that probably really fast, and they might like repeat words, but they won't have any anxiousness about the actual like R sound. Where with stuttering, where with stuttering, and it might not be the R sound, it might not be another sound, but with stuttering, then the person with stuttering is going to have like a lot of anxiousness, and be like, oh, hey, actually, before we get to the R, like I was okay with A, B, C, D, E, but like before we get to the R, I need to take a break, and then the person with stuttering will like run down the street and not finish the alphabet. Where the person with cluttering would like pure cluttering would be able to go through all well, there's 26 letters, but I think 41 different like actual like English sounds. But they'd be able to go through all of that. So so that's basically my definition of stuttering versus cluttering. And I remember that when I was first like practicing my speech, and I kind of realized that I realized that with I think with the R sound, then I had like a very mild stuttering component. But with me, then after like 2 or 3 weeks of me focusing on it, then I was able to pretty much get rid of my stuttering component. And so I don't know if that actually even classifies as stuttering, more than me like doing a cluttering centric repetition of R's. But someone with stuttering wouldn't with someone with stuttering, you can't really like explain, okay, well, you have a hard time with this R sound, so just practice and it'll go away. Like that's with stuttering, it's just way more complex than that. So I don't know if I actually had a stuttering component. But I did notice, like I went through all the alphabet, and I found like the 2 letters that I kind of had a problem with, and I was able to really quickly work them out. So anyway, I don't know if that is a good answer, or that kind of reminds me of something else that I heard about stuttering, is that well, one of the things that's in pretty much everything about cluttering is that people with cluttering aren't really very aware of their speech, and then people with stuttering are very acutely aware of their speech. And so like and so sorry, I had another point and I realized it wasn't very relevant, and then I forgot my about how about blocking. So like if my sound is R and I know I have to say the word ready, then I'll kind of like stop myself and like if I normally if I normally said it, I might say ready, but that's like super embarrassing for someone with stuttering, and that person really doesn't want to like because that's like the most embarrassing thing in the world for them. And so what they'll do is like a defense mechanism is say, okay, I'm going to say the word ready, and I'm going to like stop myself until I can say it perfectly. So then instead of like their natural way would be ready, but then they kind of stop themselves, like kind of start and stop and start and stop until they think that they can do it perfectly. And so then it kind of comes out like and so that like stopping is all like learned behavior, not like natural behavior. And so the person explaining it to me said, okay, well, I'm this like the rah, 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 rah is the most embarrassing thing for you, but you have to get back to that point before you can even work on the speech. So
Yeah.
so just say it, just like do the really embarrassing thing, because this blocking thing like is something that needs to get removed before you can even start working on your speech. And I think that like I know some people with cluttering have a lot of these defense mechanisms, especially like if their parents said, "Oh, your speech is bad. Oh, you need to do this." But like with me, because I didn't actually I didn't actually realize that there's anything wrong with my speech. I didn't really have any defense mechanisms like that. So I think like generally people with stuttering um, have a lot more like secondary behaviors than people with cluttering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just just because like I didn't care about my speech for 27 years. So and the foundational 27 years where people that do care about their speech like develop stuff like that. And Deso Weiss's book talked a lot about that too, kind of like the personality of cluttering. I think though that like even if like 50% of people have like a certain personality, like you're bad at eye contact or whatever, there there are also like people that are great at eye contact that clutter like just as bad. So I was like I was before I was really interested in finding like the cluttering personality, but but as I've like thought through it, I think that like like certain even though certain people might be more likely to clutter, I I don't think there's anything really like tied to tied to like personality wise. For me though, it's really um, like I think there's certain things because I'm pretty obsessive about stuff. Like I mentioned I did Amazon reviews, and I just really tried to get to be the top. So when I started, like when I was doing it, there were 30 million people that had written at least one review on Amazon US, and when they first sent me an email, I had gotten up to like 20,000. So I was like number 20,000, and Amazon had this rank of based on people's feedback on if they like your review or not. Um, and and I thought, oh, this is really cool. I want to figure out how high I can climb in the ranks. So when I stopped when I stopped, which is when I moved to Thailand, then I had gotten up to, I think 182 was my top. I was trying to break into the top. Well, I was trying to break into the top 1,000, because as soon as you get into the top 1,000, then people start sending you free stuff. And then and I don't really like need any free stuff. Like I pretty much have everything I want, but just like people like sending me free stuff was just like the thrill of it was just super exciting. And then I got just super obsessive and like watched other like people's videos saying, okay, how do I get how do I incorporate their stuff into my style, and I just got like super excited and obsessive about it. And so I think for me, me being just really really like if I find something I get really focused, and just like my whole mind gets wrapped around that. And I think for me, that's really tied into my cluttering, um, because especially if I've been just obsessively thinking about something for like 2 days straight, and I'm just kind of all in my head, it's really tough to transition into how do I how do I go from rank number 250 on Amazon to rank number like 240? I could do this. I could do this. I could do this. I could do this. And that and like even though I'm speaking in the video reviews, it's all in this like script, kind of like I do the same thing all the time, but with like different jokes and stuff like that. So it doesn't actually like count as like speaking and interaction. So after I've been like in the zone, then transitioning to like having a normal conversation is just really tough, and my cluttering comes out a lot with that. So when I started working on my speech, probably like 10 out of 10 for cluttering, or like on Dessa Weiss's scale, 100 out of 100. Now it's really tough. Now it's really tough to say, because I'm well, I think I'm kind of like halfway in between an extrovert and an introvert. All my introverted friends think I'm super extroverted, and all my extroverted friends think I'm pretty introverted. So that's where and I don't think you can actually like tell that about yourself. So that's how I'm like making my diagnostic, that I'm like right in the middle. So I think that sometimes like when my speech needs to be good, then and especially now when I can practice when I can practice it, and then now I know how to like effectively practice, where um, like I kind of think back on how I like prepared for speeches before I learned about cluttering, and it was like absolutely horrible and ineffective. Now I think like that if I really wanted to, I could probably get to maybe like 30 30 out of 100, where like a normal person is like 20 out of 100, and then probably like my normal speech, like talking. This speech is probably a little bit better than my normal speech. Like if the if we weren't on video, and we talked every week, and I like lapsed into like normal comfortable speech. Oh, and then actually living in Thailand, then if I speak normally, then nobody understands me. And actually, I kind of have to speak in Thai English. One of my hobbies is I teach English. I teach English as like 2 times a year, like this limited thing at my company where for like 6 weeks after work, then for 6 weeks, a couple days after work, then people can sign up and do like this English course. And when I do that, then like everyone's listening to me to like model my speech, and so I have to be very good, and so in that situation, then I try to get as close to zero as possible, and then I'm also speaking very very slowly. And one of my tricks is I print out handouts with everything that I'm going to say, and then I read them, because so Thai people can. So when I'm reading the instructions, people are marking up. Oh, this is how he says this word. This is how he says this word, and that kind of thing. So it really kind of depends. I think it really kind of depends. Oh, and then my whole point about speaking really slowly, talking to Thai people, is that whenever I talk to a non-Thai person that I can tell understands me, then my speech rate just shoots through the roof, because I'm like, finally I can talk fast like I really want to, and so this guy will understand me, and I blah 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 blah. But then like in the video, then I'm kind of slowing down too. So anyway, I think I think my real answer is I have no idea, like how I would rate my speech. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. I think I think I have like coping mechanisms. Like now I'm really really careful for if I'm losing my person or not. Like I really like talking to people that speak fast themselves, but aren't but don't have cluttering, because generally those people can follow what I'm saying, even if it's disjointed and I repeat myself and I'm talking too fast and all that other stuff. And so whenever I like there's a lady I used to work with, and she just talked very very fast, but her speech is perfect. And I noticed that like no matter how fast I talked with her, then just she got like everything that I was saying. So I really really like talking to her, because I could be like myself, and I can't really do that with most people, because with most people then I have to pace myself, or listen to everything that I say, or use my bag of speech tricks to be able to sound more fluid than my natural speech.